Hey, this is Kathy.
Hey, Kathy.
Hey, Kathy. Hey, I sound terrible, but I can listen really well.
Well, should we get started? I'll take everybody's silence as a yes. Can anyone hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, cool. All right. Let me pull up the last minutes. Has everybody had a chance to read the minutes? Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes from January?
Sure, this is Robin from KCC. I move we approve the minutes from January.
Anyone want a second?
I'll second that. This is Mark.
All right. Does everybody approve?
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. So moving along, let's see. So, committee reports. Beth, do we have a systems update?
A brief one. Brent's last day was February 24th. We had a smooth transition. We're missing him, but things are going along okay. He did update portions of the systems manual for projects he was working on. And in the interim, I've been trying to take where he left off on different projects he was working on. So things are in process.
Okay, thank you. How about cataloging committee? Dia, I think you're here, right?
I am. The cataloging committee met last on February 6th. We had a report on authority record loads, reports on things the cataloging mentors have been talking about and working on. We had a brief a brief demonstration of analyzing BIBs for import via Z39.50 into Sage, which led to discussion about having some more of these types of trainings via GoToMeeting and recording them for later viewing on the website. The next meeting will be April 3rd. And then the cataloging mentors met on February 2nd and March 2nd. And they continued discussing cataloging issues and training. And they've been working as they can around their job duties to address things like duplicate bib records, updating the standards manual documents, that kind of thing. And they drafted the requirements for Cat 1 cataloging level on Sage Library System to go to you all for approval, which is under new business today. And their next meeting will be the 6th of April.
Thank you, Dia. I think, did Brent usually do the circulation committee? I can't quite remember.
Yes, he did. So I thought I would just give a brief update. The Circulation Committee did meet on February 15th. They have been meeting monthly, and I realized that we missed March's meeting, but we'll take care of that, get that on the calendar. And we will continue to meet monthly. Currently, we're seeking a chair for the committee. In the interim, I will assume kind of a leadership role just to keep our topics and updates going. So anyway, more information about that to come out on the listserv.
Thank you, Beth. Do we have anyone here from the Courier Committee today? I'm not sure.
I serve on the Courier Committee
sorry,
as
Beth.
well. No, that's fine. I try to keep knowledgeable on all the different aspects of SAGE. So the Courier Committee did meet March 1st. Low-key meeting, we just had some updates. Can you continue to talk about packaging and improvements we can make there? I gave an update on my I serve on the Orbis Cascade Courier RFP Committee, and we recently had some presentations from vendors who are looking to provide service for the Orbis Cascade Courier, and so I gave a report on that, how I felt the vendor presentations went, and the committee made a recommendation to the Orbis Cascade Council, and so they're in negotiations with the vendor that was selected. So I don't think I can say anything yet, but there is some anticipated cost increases with both vendors who submitted an RFP response. We're looking probably at maybe an 8% increase, but there's no definite amount known until the negotiations take place. So I'm going to try to factor that into my LSTA grant that's due in April for our courier subsidy.
Okay. Thank you. And probably no report on the governance committee, I would guess.
And that's correct. The governance committee did not meet.
Okay, so we can move on to new business. Beth, I'll let you take this. The annual meeting, planning that, or hopefully having that.
In the past, we've tried to each year have a meeting where we try to get as many people together in one place. Originally, that was targeted for May. And I just wanted to kind of generate discussion again as to how folks feel about the annual meeting and what the timing we feel should be. So open the floor.
I think it's a good idea. I think May is a pretty good time as well. I missed the last meeting, but I would like to go to this one if I can.
How do the others feel about if we have an annual meeting in May that gives us essentially 2 months to prepare? Is that good timing for other folks? I know for schools it can be a rather hectic time, but maybe not so much in the public libraries. Feedback?
It is for library districts and probably a lot of other city and county libraries, the budget season is the biggest factor. So I know our budget meeting is on the 24th of May. So just after that, on the 26th or the following week would be good.
Did anyone else have any input on this? May or another month maybe?
I would agree that late May would work out well for us here at KCC, at least in the academic library world. The term would be kind of wrapping down or at least in midterm, really. So.
What about like the 31st, maybe, of May? It's a Wednesday.
I think I can make that work. This is Perry.
Where are these meetings usually held?
They've been held in different locations. I believe last year's was in LeGrand. And we've had them in Hermiston. Obviously, we try to choose a central location so that it's not as difficult for folks to come in person. So I guess I would be up for volunteers for sites that want to host it. We don't have a huge attendance today. I'm wondering too if we want to do some kind of survey or poll to see if that date's going to work for folks.
I think that's a good idea, Beth. I can send that out. And I can ask for recommendations or ask for volunteers to host as well.
And I guess along with scheduling an annual meeting, obviously council business will take place, but is there anything else that we want to do on the same day? I guess traditionally Brent and I have given like an overview of the year, kind of a little update. We've sometimes done training. So I guess just ideas, and maybe people can be thinking about it and make some suggestions either via the survey or via the listserv.
That's a good idea, Beth. I can work on that later today.
Okay, thanks, Erin.
You're welcome. The next thing I had was something I put on the agenda to talk about the inactive patrons in Evergreen. We have a policy here that I think it's after people have expired for more than 3 years, we delete them out of our system provided they don't have fines. But from looking around, it seems like there are many libraries who don't do that at all. And we have potentially thousands of people that have been expired for several years in Evergreen. And I think I just wanted to bring this up to discuss maybe a policy that we could have in Sage that, you know, after a certain amount of years, if your patrons haven't used your library or a Sage library, that they get deleted out of Evergreen. So I was going to throw that out to the collective wisdom and see what you guys thought.
This is Kathy.
And from Tree Health
Good idea. We were one of the libraries that didn't have a policy on that, and had about 1,500 inactive patrons that we just weeded out. So it would be good if there was a policy, consistent policy for all libraries, I think.
Beth?
Kathy, you poor thing, you sound terrible.
Okay, Beth, this is Maggie from the Dalles.
Yes, hi Maggie.
Okay, I thought there was a policy set up in our library. Our inactive patrons expire after 3 years, but they do not delete. They stay on the system but as inactive. Is that what Erin's referring to?
Yes, that is what Erin is referring to.
No, it's not. What I'm saying is
oh,
that
okay.
I'm talking about after these people are expired. Like, after their card has expired and then they haven't used
Right.
the library for several years. That's what I was talking about. But they,
Yeah. I think you guys are saying the same thing.
Are we saying the same? Sorry about that.
And there is no automatic deletion of patrons once they reach that expiration date. And I think there's a couple different thoughts on this. When you actually delete a patron from Evergreen, it deletes all history. And there has been some concern by some library staff that that's not a good idea. There is another thing that can be done on the back end where a delete flag is thrown and the patron doesn't show up in the catalog anymore, but all of the history is still stored on the database. That's something that Brent and I would have to do on the patron records themselves, and we have done that for some libraries that have requested it.
Well, one of the things that, you know, I think is an issue with this is, you know, when we go to do our state library reports, you know, there are libraries that are showing that they have thousands more patrons than they actually do. Would that show up if you did that, Beth, you know, kind of put it so it wouldn't show up the catalog? Would it still show up under the reports as a patron that library had?
No, it depends on how you do the report templates. When I pull statistics for the state library reports, I take that into account and look at patrons that have been active for the past 3 years, so that we aren't skewing our statistics by a lot of outdated records. Now, if somebody else is pulling their own stats, that could very well be a factor. But when I pull the spreadsheet together, I try to deal with those outdated records and not incorporate them into the counts.
Is there, this is Linda from Plaintree Health Resource Center, is there a reason for maintaining patron histories after so long a period?
I think it just depends on how far back you want to go in analyzing data. So just different philosophies on that. Go ahead, Perry.
Unless the library has some kind of a policy that would be a probation based on a patron's past history, I don't see any reason to really keep a expired record after it's been inactive for 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
My sense of what is happening, this is Mark, is that in some of the communities where we know people so well, if somebody has done us wrong in the past, we don't ever want to let them do us wrong again. And I'm not one that adheres to that kind of a position, but I think that's not uncommon. And I think they don't want to lose the history because their memories don't lose it either. I personally feel like, you know, people do change over time and they need the opportunity to re-access the library. And frankly, this kind of an issue to me needs to be decided by the directors and not be too heavily weighted because there's some staff who don't want to lose data. Because usually the data they don't want to lose is somebody lost a book once and they never paid for it, and when are we going to get our money back?
Well, Mark,
That's my...
Well, Mark, in our library, if someone does lose a book and never pays for it, we keep that patron. I mean, certainly in 20 years,
that
probably.
Get purged, that is what you're saying.
Yeah, no. So we keep those. We didn't keep the records that got transferred in from Millennium because it was, but anything new, we'll keep them.
Right. So, but we're still not purging records that don't have lost items on them?
Correct. Yeah. There's a lot of records that there's nothing on their account.
Well, let's have some fun then. Get rid of them.
Well,
Brent did mark a bunch that he marked them inactive for purposes of getting a more accurate state report.
Yeah, and we also did, there's a delete flag on the database record for the patron as well that can be thrown so that it doesn't even come up in the inactive list.
can we make that automatic for everybody, Beth?
Can we? I guess I'm just wondering, would everybody be okay with that? I'm fine with doing that if we get a consensus.
Maybe this needs to be an issue at the annual meeting.
This is Dia. I was just looking at the standardized loan rules, and there is actually a comment in there that addresses this. It says library cards for permanent residents will expire after a maximum of 3 years. If not renewed or reactivated within 1 year after the expiration date, the record will be deleted from the database unless there's unresolved locks on the account.
Thanks for reading that, Dia.
Thank you, Dia.
So we did address it, and we just haven't been acting on it in completion. So 1 year after expiration.
I guess my only concern is that parent records will get deleted, and sometimes child records don't have full contact information. They kind of refer back to the parent record. So lots of the parent record, if it's been inactive, would be a hindrance.
I think that's a good point, Perry. I mean, I would think this would be better. I like the idea, Beth, of what you're proposing, but I think it would be better done by libraries, who can go through these accounts individually. And then that's how you can see those things. Is this attached to a child record? Does the child's record have the correct information?
Yeah, and we can certainly pull a report. It can even be on a monthly basis so that the workload is spread out over the year. Is once that 1 year after expiration date has occurred, then they get a list of patron accounts needing to be deleted.
We do 3 years. I don't know about other libraries, and I know one of the reasons for that is because a lot of people within that year come back, and then we have to give them a new card. But that's just us.
So, Erin, you're saying that you wait 3
Oh,
years
it's not 3.
after the expiration?
It's 2. It's 2 years after they expire, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. But that's
This is Faith from NISA, and we do 2 years as well.
Yep.
So those policies aren't really in coordination with our standard loan rules.
no, they're not.
No. At Baker, we purged after 2 years, and if their balance is $2 or less.
Well, I think this might be, as I think Mark said, I think that was you, Mark, this might be a good discussion at the annual meeting. What do you guys think, rather than deciding this today?
I think that's a good idea.
That's a good idea.
Kathy.
Well, and it gives us time to communicate with the other council members as well as the other SAGE libraries who aren't represented here today. And I think awareness that some libraries are doing something different than the standard loan rules. If that's the case, then maybe we need to bring it back to the table and come to a new consensus and make a modification to our standards so that everybody can be on the same page.
I think that sounds good. So I'll put that on the agenda for the meeting in hopefully May. Thank you, guys. So the next thing is the catalog Cat 1 policy up for discussion. Dia, do you want to take the floor? Oh, let me pull that policy up first. Sorry, that'd be helpful. I don't have it. Let me pull that up real quick.
Beth, this is Faith. May I ask a question while she's looking?
Of course, Faith.
Is chat, when we go online and chat like we did with Brent, will that be continuing or coming back up, or how will that work?
Oh, that's a good point. Was that something that was effective and well liked by people, having a chat session once or twice a week? Because I can certainly continue it if folks want it.
We liked it. We used it fairly regularly.
Okay.
Yes, I thought it was great.
Okay, I will start that back up again. And he was doing it twice a week, correct? Kind of different day, different time? I have to look back through my notes.
Actually, I think he kind of was online whenever he was there. If we contacted him, he'd do it. But we can go with his schedule.
Well, and I'm fine too. Because I'm obviously online, and so having a chat box open is not a hardship. So I can do that.
Can you guys all see the policy now?
Yep.
Cool. All right, Dia, I'm going to give you the floor.
Basically, we've never had any requirements set in place for Cat 1 permission level for cataloging, and so we've been talking about this for quite some time and finally decided we really just needed to get a handle on this and try to put something together. So this is the beginning, well, this is the draft that we put together, knowing that, you know, just like with the cataloging policy, should we ever need to make a change down the road, we could do that and bring that back to the council for necessary approval. So this would be kind of an addendum to the current cataloging policy, I believe. We felt it was probably best not to restrict ourselves and putting a list of potential trainings in the document, but rather have that as a separate list, which we'll have available like on the website or something. We're still trying to really get that kind of narrowed down. What we're finding is that either a lot of the training is incredibly expensive and very specialized, or way basic, more basic than what we really feel we need. So we have a very small number at this point, kind of pinpointed, but obviously we're open to other things as people find and start working with this. So I am willing to answer any questions that I can.
I had some questions and comments, but does anyone have any first? I didn't want to cut ahead of anybody. I will take your guys' silence as a no. So the first one was, it said that in order to be Cat 1, you would have to have cataloging as your primary job responsibility. And I wasn't sure about that because there's a lot of us that have such small libraries that you could have a whole host of job duties, cataloging being one of them. And so I was a little concerned about restricting it that way, and I wasn't kind of sure why.
Well, basically, what we felt was if there are going to be funds and whatnot put together from SAGE and mentoring that's going on, etc., if we're putting all of our energies into someone who's not doing a great deal of cataloging and maybe doesn't really even need the Cat 1 level, that we may be wasting a lot of energies and that could be used, you know, right within the catalog itself.
What if instead of that you could say they are the primary cataloger at their library? Because I mean, I totally see your point, but I hesitate to restrict this to people that just have it in their job title.
How about as one of their primary job responsibilities?
This is Kathy, and I agree with Aaron on that. Being a small district, we definitely have a hard time saying that somebody has cataloging as their primary responsibility. But on the other hand, we still have a need to have a Cat 1 cataloger within our district. So limiting us in the future of not having the ability to have a Cat 1, if I can't say that that's their primary responsibility, would be, I think, unfair to our district.
Perry, I think you made a good suggestion, but on there.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Perry's suggestion is a good one.
Dia, what do you think?
Well, our biggest concern was, especially in a very small library that maybe doesn't have, maybe they would only have 3 or 4, maybe a half dozen, maybe a dozen a year of items that would, you know, need a Cat 1 person to deal with, that maybe they don't do a lot of cataloging and it would be a real struggle for them. That was our biggest concern with this. So I think the cataloging group may be willing to go with that.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to change this to just give every Joe librarian, you know, Cat 1 access, but you know, I think we need to keep in mind that there are big and small libraries in SAGE, and I think Perry, I think that was a good suggestion. The second one I had was approval of requests could be limited to existing mentors' workload. I very much understand where that's coming from, but I am a little concerned that, you know, this is a big process with a lot of hoops that, you know, we're expecting people to jump through in order to be Cat 1. And I mean, I'm hesitant to say, I mean, you guys essentially could say, hey, we don't ever have any time to mentor someone. So I don't know, that concerns me a little bit, that, you know, there could just be no one available to help. And because that could be at a bigger library, that could mean that they can't do any original cataloging if there's no mentors available, if they get a new person employed there.
Well, let me first mention that the cataloging mentors have been available to do original cataloging as needed. So I get where you're coming from, and I don't want to lessen what you're saying, Aaron. But the problem is we only have so much time, and unfortunately we're all feeling very stretched now, which is trying to get the system kind of leveled out where it should be to help everyone, especially the patrons, to be able to find the materials they need. And to try to stay on top of the training aspect for all folks who are trying to do cataloging has really been a stretch for us. We don't know if, you know, we're hoping that down the road maybe we'll be able to get someone who can help take some of this load off. You know, maybe a part position on the SAGE staff. We don't know, but right now we're trying to balance out everything we can.
Well, I guess my concern is that you guys are the ones that have drafted this policy that says that you have to have a mentor and it has to be, you know, for 6 months. And then you're also saying someone might not be available. I mean, to me, that just seems like there's got to be a better way to phrase that rather than...
Erin, yeah, the clause was put in there to avoid situations where all of a sudden 10 people want to be Cat 1. And so you're having to work with 10 people all at one time. I think just put there as a caveat that there may be a need to spread out the people so that not everybody's jumping on board at the same time to get these Cat 1 qualifications and being mentored at the same time. I mean, if there's not a huge number, then the mentor group would be, you know, conceivably able to handle it. We just don't know what those numbers are. And wanted to have a clause in there so that, you know, there was a way to say, hey, you know, we've got too many people we're mentoring right now, you know, you need to wait another 6 months, something like that.
That's fine. The last one I had, and then I will be quiet, is in the policy, it doesn't, and I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem like there's a list of requirements of what you need in order to move up. It lists what you have to become Cat 1, but not in order, like if I today wanted to move up, you know, wanted to start, I don't want to, but if I wanted to start the training, I don't see what I need to do in order to start that process. Have you guys, are there specific qualifications that you need for that?
Are you talking about specific trainings that they need to go through, Erin?
Yes.
Or
yes, because
okay.
Yeah, because it says that you have to request it through the mentor committee, and then they will approve or deny. But I'm not sure what I would need in order to submit a request, like what I will need to demonstrate or show.
There's a bulleted list of things there. In order to obtain and retain from permission levels, all Cat 1 catalogers must be able to do. And I think there's a list there of things that we feel like the Cat 1 person needs experience with. And here again, each person's going to be individual as far as their level of expertise, and we have some tutorials that we'd be able to point them to, and the mentor would be working on building some of those skills with the individual person.
So the bulleted list are these things that you would need after you've taken advanced training, or is this before? Is this in order to move up? Is this in order to just start training, or is this after?
No, this would be after. Actually, some of those other things are listed in the current cataloging policy under what the Cat 3 and the Cat 2 people.
So I guess what I would like to see is what people need to be able to demonstrate in order to submit an application. Because as a supervisor, I can tell my staff all I want, you know, go be Cat 1. They need to know what they need to learn before they submit this proposal, would be my suggestion.
Okay.
Is there a way for a shorter term of mentorship than 6 months? I'm thinking when we hired our cataloger from USC, John, and he's worked as a cataloger, has an MLS. Does he still need to go through a full mentorship of 6 months to get Cat 1 status?
Not necessarily. Again, like Beth said, some of these are going to be an individual situation. If they have, you know, shown that they've got an extensive amount of training and the background, then it would just be a very short time that, you know, we might watch a few of the records to make sure that the little nuances that we do in Sage maybe are, but I don't think it would probably be a full 6 months. I think that's kind of the way, but it does say a minimum of 6 months, doesn't it?
It does say a minimum of 6
It
months.
does. I think that could probably be rephrased to incorporate situations where their qualifications negated that. Maybe up to 6 months, depending on experience.
Yeah, that's a good way.
So how is it decided what people will be able to start the mentorship? I mean, is this the committee, you know, getting together and approving or denying, or are there certain qualifications that you have to meet? I'm just not really clear.
Well, first of all, someone would have to submit that they want that.
Sure.
Otherwise, we have no
No.
way of knowing, really. We, at this point, you know, we have some idea of a few people that have expressed some possible interest in this, and we have some suspicions of some libraries that might, but we honestly don't know. Like Beth said, you know, we could have 10 people at one time, you know, coming at us, and we don't have that capability of resource at that point to handle that many.
And I think if there was that situation, we would look at their situation, look at how long they've been cataloging as a Cat 2 person, look at the need of the library, and maybe establish some priorities.
Right.
Where some may get the Cat 1 mentorship process started ahead of others because there's too many. So all of those things could be taken into account.
I understand that, but it seems a little like nebulous.
So are you thinking we need to like spell that out?
I think you need to spell it out. I'm not saying you don't necessarily need to prioritize. I think what Beth's saying is a good idea. If you do get hit with 10 people, yes, you're going to need to prioritize who goes first. But as a supervisor, if I tell one of my staff I'd like you to be a Cat 1 cataloger, I would like to be able to go through the list and say, okay, this person meets this, you know, qualifications before I submitted a request.
Okay.
Okay, we can go back to the committee and work on this a little bit more and try to make things more concrete.
One of the things I would like to see when an applicant applies is that they have approval from their supervisor. Is that on the application form?
It is.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks.
And I think that's a good idea.
And the reason why we felt that that was important is because it will impact the budget and, well, specifically the budget because the personnel, you know, depends on that. But it would definitely impact the library's budget, be it either for some training issues or just their time. And so we didn't want someone to just jump over that.
I could see having an over-eager employee who is like, oh, I want to do this.
Exactly.
Find me, and then taking time out of the day to do that instead of the work I've assigned her or him. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that was on the application part.
Mm-hmm. Do you think it's important for us to have an actual application form or just for somebody to be able to submit a letter?
Or email.
Well, yeah.
I think a form might be the best format because it's easier to track. And writing a letter is off-putting for some people. They're not sure what to put in the letter and how to format it.
Yeah, and on the form you could list, you know, the requirements, and when someone doesn't meet them, you can go back and say it was on the form.
No, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
We can work
You're
on
going to
that.
need the supervisor's signature on there too.
Yeah, you're right.
Right.
So I have a suggestion that isn't that I know would not happen today or tomorrow or maybe this year, but you know, since you guys are having trouble finding training, has there been any discussion about creating some training that's specific to Evergreen, specific to what you guys are looking for cataloging? I mean,
yes, but who's going to be able to do it? That's the problem.
Yeah, it's our desire, but the time hasn't been there to develop a full repertoire of modules. But yes, we would like to ultimately.
And that is our desire for the future.
Well, does anyone else have comments? Okay, I will take that as a no. The last thing I had on for new business was another thing I stuck on there. So our library has begun using the web version of Evergreen, which is in beta testing right now. It's kind of a long story. We're guinea pigs, basically. But what I discovered is how easy it is to log in to Evergreen. And I also noticed our passwords aren't very secure. And I don't know about other Sage libraries, how they're handling that.
Yeah, we did institute a policy way back. Some libraries were good about acting on it and others were not. Where we had asked, I think it was a 13-character password. Is that correct, Perry?
That sounds right.
Is that being followed? Because I can tell you in Milton Freewater it never was. And
yeah.
If you were able to do it, then it's not, and then there's no verification of anybody following it. Could we do that, Beth?
I'll have to check into it. I was hoping that individual libraries would follow through. I'll look into whether I can make it required. I think we can also send out a reminder to libraries that at least once a year they should be changing their password. And remind them of the criteria that we set up. That would be a good stopgap anyway.
Thank you, Beth. Yeah, I think that would be good, and I think that we're going to find that there are maybe many of us that didn't change their password when they were supposed to. I will be now, but it didn't happen before.
We used to change our passwords every year, and when we had the consolidated login, you know, BCL Circ and BCL Cat, but then we still do it for the general Circ login. But since the catalogers now all have their own individual accounts, I don't have any way to enforce that. That's just a kind of a trust I would like to be able to make sure that they have an adequate password.
All right, so Perry, I've got budget listed on here. Did you want me to pull that up to discuss?
Sure. We met with whoever wanted to attend for budget review and questions several weeks ago, and there were no changes suggested at that time. So the budget as presented at the last user council meeting is the same as what you'll be pulling up.
I'm trying to. Hold on. All right. So, can you guys see that?
Yep.
Cool.
So basically, our March meeting, we vote on the budget so that individual libraries can move forward with getting the right membership amounts into their local budgets. So I guess I would call for questions on any of the budget items and then ask for a motion to approve after that.
If there aren't any questions, I can call to approve it.
Was the 8% increase in career going to be covered by the LSTA career grant you predict, Beth?
Yes, yes,
Okay.
that's where the increase will be had. We had a small increase in our local career funding projected into the budget, but most of the increase will, I'll be asking for an LSTA funding.
And then the funding that we talked about, the money back to the training for Cat 1, it said there could be scholarships. Is that included anywhere in this budget?
Yes, it is included. Done under technology, I believe. I know we had a note about the extra 2,000. Yeah, it is in technology.
It says
Okay, thanks.
for development/evergreen conference. Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe not. The print is so small.
It's under training, professional development, and that's where 2,000 is listed as cataloging training plus 2 people to attend Evergreen Conference 2018.
I knew it was grouped with something else. Okay.
Did anyone else have questions? All right, so I'm going to make a motion to approve the budget. Does anyone want a second?
I second that we approve the budget.
All right, all in favor?
I'm sorry, who made the second?
That was me, Robin Jeffrey at KCC.
Thanks, Robin.
You're welcome.
Aye.
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 Okay, the ayes have it. So our next meeting, I think that put us in May. Would that be May 23rd? No, or the 16th?
Wouldn't that be our annual meeting?
That would be the annual
Oh,
meeting,
you're right.
so whatever date we determine.
Okay, sorry about that. I forgot. All right, so we'll just table the discussion for the next meeting until we get a survey out.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everybody. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day.
You too. Have a good one, everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
All right, thanks, everyone.